Welcome to the Numerology podcast. I'm your host, Novalee Wilder. I'm a professional numerologist and writer. In this podcast, we're just going to nerd out, which means we're going to talk names, we're going to talk numbers, numerology, astrology, the connections between the different esoteric fields. We'll do case studies and so much more. At the end of this episode, please make sure you visit my website, novaleewilder.com, where you can find out more about numerology and yourself. If you enjoy the podcast, please make sure you subscribe so that you're always the first to know when each episode is released. Today we're going to do something exciting, which is that we're going to do a Q&A episode. And I thought I would do this because I receive a lot of the same questions over and over again, and I also receive some really specific ones, and instead of just answering them in my inbox, I thought I would share them with you. So the first question actually comes from someone named Adrian. And Adrian asks, so Adrian has worked with the Kabbalarian Institute, which is some institute that also does name changes. I'm not sure exactly how they use numerology and the process they go through. But he asked if I could check if they have their math right and that these names would work. And if I could help him, give him some clarity. Thank you so much, Adrian, for asking this question. Unfortunately, I have to say that in this field of numerology, there's so many different schools of thought and so many different systems being used. And even numerologists that use the exact same system, I would say even numerologists that might have been trained by the exact same person, might not end up at the same outcome every time. So if you come to me and you want a name change, it's not just going to be dependent on the system I use. It's also going to be when in time you come. You might come to me in the spring of 2025 or the fall of 2026, and I might give you different numeroscopes based on the time you come to me. Because we're not just looking at names, we're also looking at cycles, and where you are on the cycle might determine what name or numeroscope I would apply. So some people do this thing where they shop around a little bit. They might get multiple sessions with different numerologists. I really can't recommend this. I can only recommend trying to find a numerologist that you really kind of gel with or click with, where how they convey things feel like they're talking specifically to you. Maybe they say things where you're like, I've always thought that, or I've always said that. I have clients who come to me and they're like, you said this thing in a podcast. I just had someone recently share. Jana, if you're listening, thank you for having a session with me and sharing that you had some takeaways where you were like, oh, you said a thing that I've been thinking or saying my entire life. And I find this is a confirmation. This is a confirmation for me that I'm working with the right person when they mirror something in me. So it might be a numerologist that have the same kind of background or a specific culture or a specific area of interest within numerology that you feel drawn to. But no matter what, I would, instead of checking other people's math, I would go find the numerologist that you click with and trust that they are going to guide you to something that's better than what you have right now. Because one of the pitfalls that I also see is some people are looking for perfection. They're looking for the perfect name because they want a perfect life. And they want to remove a bunch of pain and challenges, and I'm here to tell you we can't do that. I cannot give you perfection. I can only give you up-leveling. I can give you support, a new name that really amplifies and support and puts foundation below the life you're building and who you're becoming, a new identity or a stronger identity. So I'm really sorry, Adrian, but I can't check someone else's math. Sure, I could. You can book a session. I can have an opinion. The few clients I've seen from the Kabbalarian Institute, I can tell that we're not using the exact same system or we're not using it in the exact same way. So, I haven't really seen a lot of great numeroscopes from a Chaldean perspective from them. That doesn't mean that they don't do great work with whoever their clients are. But unfortunately, kind of also with an astrologer or something like that, how we read transits might be different. And I can even see when I have students, I will give them the same case study and I'll say, change the name of this person. And they will come up with different numeroscopes, and there isn't always like one perfect numeroscope. Sometimes there is stuff we could talk about where we're like, why did you choose that? But all in all, like, most name changes will amplify and turn up the sound and the volume on certain aspects of you. And depending also on who you work with, they should be able to see some of these things where they go, I think I want to turn up this energy. This is one of the things I do in my sessions. I always ask people, after we've covered their birth numeroscope, and I'm about to show them the new numeroscope that I've picked, I ask them to name and spell out for me, like, what are the things you want? Not the things you do not want anymore, but the things you do want. So you say it in the affirmative. And usually what people will say in those few minutes, they cover like, okay, I'm letting go of this and this is what I'm inviting in. They will name all the energies of the new numeroscope. And that's also how I know that my work was the right work for this person, is that like what I have chosen, they have already chosen for themselves. I am just a vessel that comes through. Okay. I hope that made sense. And if you had the same kind of question, if you've had a name change session with someone else or used a calculator online or like put something together yourself, is that if you're working with me, I will do my best to support you as fully as I can. And it will be better than whatever you have right now. But if you go to someone else, they might see you a little bit differently. The next question comes from Allie. And she says, hi, Mrs. Wilder. I keep seeing numbers 911, so 911, every morning as I awake. What does this mean? The basic message between 9 and 11 is what you are healing right now is needed for the overall expansion of your heart. So the fact that you're seeing it in the morning would tell me like that it's a message about like what you go through as you sleep. That there's like some work being done on you, that there is some heart work being done right now. I would also say 9/11 always ties into this very harsh energy and very sensitive. There is something interesting with the combination of 9 and 11 that often has to do with some kind of violence or violation or boundary, and some kind of sensitivity, creative, heart-expanding energy. So that would be my message about 9/11. And I would also say there might be a deeper message when you turn into your base number. So if you look into the numbers of your birthday, there might be some overlap, there might be a specific message there. Okay, the next question comes from Mary. You saw my interview with Wisdom of the North on YouTube, thank you. And you're an identical twin. So, of course, you have a sibling born on the same birthday. And you have a bunch of questions on your names. When I was born, I was very sick. And they thought I was going to die. I was baptized in the hospital. My dad named me, and my mom named my sister. And my mom said that my dad switched our names because he wanted the baby who was going to live to have the name he chose. Wow. So I wonder how it works if I had one name and it got switched to the day I was born. I also wonder the differences with those in the same family, all born on the same day. Well, Mary, I'm sorry that you have that story connected to your name. That sounds heavy. That sounds hard. That sounds not just like a hard way to enter this life. It sounds like a hard story to have connected to that birth. And I'm sorry for that, because that just sounds hard. And you're not alone. There are a lot of people who have like some pretty interesting stories connected to why they were named, who named them, and like what they're named after. The interesting thing with twins is that they very rarely, of course, have the exact same name, even with name vibrations. They carry a bunch of the same things, because they have the same birthday, they might have, very, very, very similar horoscopes. But as people who do, like astrologers who do readings for twins, like just a few minutes can change a few things. And I would say from numerology, just a few letters, like just a slightly different first name can truly change the numeroscope. So it would be really interesting. I don't have enough sessions with twins. I would love to do more sessions. I would also love to do more naming sessions for twin babies. your dad might very well have picked a stronger or weaker name. And I do believe that whatever you got, even if his intention was to help or not to help, was the right one. Even if you have the story, and I hope you have done some work about detaching from that story or like neutralizing it in some way or turning it into something powerful, I do find that even though I also have a weird naming story where you know, like on the way to church, getting me baptized, my mom changed her mind on what I should be named, and then the priest ended up writing a different sequence of names than what he was told by my parents. And like I have a different thing where like my mom asked my dad to change one of the letters in his last name because she was like, oh, I like the spelling more and I want my child to have that last name. So my dad changed his last name to accommodate that. Like there's some weird stuff going on. And when we go back, sometimes we can go and like I might look at your sister's name and go like, oh, that's stronger. But maybe she needed that. And maybe there's certain things in your name that objectively could be better. But there is something in our birth names that we needed. There's something in them that like fits with the story of our upbringing. Unfortunately, they are like a lock and key. Like when I read birth numeroscopes, I am reading a childhood. I'm reading an upbringing. They are not just like a snapshot in time. They're like a full novel on this person and what it felt like to be them. So maybe he gave you one thing and you should have had another, but maybe everything was just okay. Like maybe this was just how it was gonna turn out. On your last question, you wonder about the differences with those in the same family, all born on the same day. So I actually share a birthday with my uncle. Of course, not the same year, but I share a birthday with my uncle. We had very, very different lives, even though we have a lot in common. And there is something to be said about like the tightness of a family that shares a lot of energy. So like there's we should all love one another and take care of one another and show up for each other. But in family, some of these patterns kind of get like, they got a little wonky, they get a little dysfunctional. And sometimes people have a lot in common, but very little to show for it. So sometimes when I look at people, if I do entire family trees, like entire family numeroscopes and name changes, I can really see what we are here to learn from each other. Not to bully each other with, but learn from each other. Sometimes entire families are just all power, 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 power. And I'm like, okay, you guys are here to learn something about sensitivity from each other and what power looks like in different wrapping. Also, like if people are born in a male or female body, like there's a lot of interesting aspects to it. But Mary, I hope this brought a little clarity and a little insight to your question, and thank you for asking it and sharing with us. Then we have an anonymous question. I am buying a new home and I'm wanting to choose the right energy to support my goals in life. What do I do? You check out the blog post I have on my website all about numerology and house numbers. And if you want to go further, you book a signature session with me so we can look at like the different house numbers and how they work with your specific energy. Because just as a name holds an energy and a person holds an energy, a birthday holds an energy, houses hold energies as well. And they both hold energy in terms of like the lot number. So like houses are placed on lots in cities and your lot will have a number. But more importantly, they have an energy based in the street number. And even further, if it's an apartment, they might have an apartment number. Like I'm even doing this when I travel and I pick like airplane seats or hotel room numbers. Like I can really nerd out about it. So if you're buying a new home and you're wanting to choose the right energy, I would check out that blog post on numerology and house numbers, because it's going to give you like just a few foundational tips and tricks on how to approach it and like what kind of energy. And it's also a great way to like, based on the number, what should it feel like in that house? Because people impact the number they live in, and the number we live in impact us as people. So sometimes a house can feel very different if a specific base number has lived in it for a very long time. So I would check out the blog post, and I say thank you for asking the question. Hi, Novalee. Oh, I love that so many people have found me through Wisdom of the North. Thank you so much. If you haven't listened to it or found it, it's on YouTube. I did an interview for Yannicki's podcast, Wisdom of the North. She has a great membership. Okay, so Karen asks, I've got to my mid-50s, and I wonder why I always seem to take the difficult route. This has been a pattern throughout my life, and I'm totally worn out by it and would like to find a kinder path. I'm still trying to find contentment and a purpose for my life too. Okay, Karen, thank you for that question. I would love to know your base number. You have not included it. If you haven't checked out the ebook, The 9 Base Numbers, it's free when you sign up for my newsletter. I really would recommend it. This podcast is going to be a lot of resources for you guys. Like, I hope you enjoy all the things that I'm going to talk about. Based on your base number, this taking the difficult route, this like seeing a mountain and deciding, that's a mountain, I'm a mountain climber, I'm going to climb it. Instead of going, that's a mountain, that's weird, I'm not a mountain climber, I'm going to find a different path. Some people, some base numbers are just wired a little bit differently. Some people are mountain climbers. Now that doesn't mean that every mountain should be climbed. Like, I'm sure an experienced mountain climber would be like, how's the weather? How's the temperature? What do I have in my bag? What do I feel like? They would have a bunch of like questions and concerns and adjustments before they decide to climb a mountain. It's the same for people who have this like approach. I'm like, just because it's a mountain doesn't mean you need to climb it. What is it that happens in your life? This could also depend on your base number. Is it like you don't stop to question? Is it a story of no one else is going to do it? Is it a story of hard work is the only way to get what I want? There might be a bunch of stories that are playing out, and some of them could be tied to your base number or they could be tied to your numeroscope. If you're still looking for contentment and purpose, I would say that maybe you have learned this mountain climber thing from someone else. Now, if you grew up with parents who were mountain climbers, meaning like they saw a mountain and they were like, the only way is up and over, or they were like, that's a mountain, it's your job to climb it, like I'm not going to do it, but you're going to do it for me, you might have gotten that story from them. So there might be, it's beautiful in your mid-50s to have that conversation with yourself and go, what are the mountains I've always wanted to climb, and what are the mountains I've been busy climbing instead of doing the ones that would give me contentment and purpose. Because pain is unfortunately not optional. Struggle is, but pain is part of it. So sometimes to get to contentment, there is some pain. There's like identity of who we are and who we want to be and who we never were. And like there can be like dreams and ideas and identity tied up into it. And you want to find a kinder path. Like some of these words reveal a little bit. Maybe you have some 2 or 6 in you. Maybe you have some playful 4. There could be many aspects of you that like have not been allowed to shine. And so I would say, question the mountain climber within. And look at like some nicer mountains to climb. This is a new question. Can learning your numbers help you understand the purpose of your life? Yes, because it can help understand yourself. And I do think that the better you understand yourself, the easier it's going to be to go after what you want. And when you go after what you want while you understand yourself, the whole thing kind of gets infused with purpose. Because it's like an expression of you. Like what you want to do is an expression of who you are. And that doesn't mean that it has to be like super individualized and egotistical. I feel like most people are called to work in some form of community or some form of connection. I don't think any human was created to be alone or solitary in their work or contribution. So I would say yes, learn your numbers, maybe get a reading, maybe dive deeper, find readers that resonate with you. So like, it's not just what we say, it's how we say it. So if it feels like they're speaking to you, then what they have to offer is probably something you need to hear, and it might help you understand the purpose of your life. Okay, this is an old question that I found as I was digging up things for this episode. This is from someone named Claudia. Hello, I'm interested in one-on-ones or possibly small group discussions about name change and numerology. I have recently considered using my middle name instead of my first name, and I'm located in Santa Monica. Do you do online or in person? Yeah, so this question is about educational events and if I have anything coming up. And I'm sorry, Claudia, I hope I responded to you immediately when you sent this email. But this is a question about the numerology school, in essence. Like, do I have anything coming up? And hopefully, yes, I do. I do want to teach my long training on numerology. I do want to certify some professional numerologist. I want to teach more people. I can also tell in this time in the world, like, there's a lot of struggle and challenge, and people are, like, sometimes interested in more, like, not surface level, but shorter courses. And if you're listening to this podcast and you've been thinking, I want to learn more about numerology, I don't want to just read a book. Like, I want to be with a teacher. I want to go deeper. I want to learn more about myself. Maybe I want to help other people. I want to read numeroscopes. I want to be a numerologist. Like, please reach out to me, because I am like collecting people who are interested in my longer forms, and I'm trying to make it so we can all start at the same time, because I do one-on-one teaching, but I find there's so much value in classwork. There's so many questions that only come up because of someone else said, who was also a student. So I have the numerology school coming up. We're hopefully starting on September 1st, I think, of 2025. If you're not already on the email list, go to novaleewilder.com, go to the school page, sign up for the email list on that page, then you will be the first to know. Send me an email, say, hey, yeah, I want to know more. I don't do in-person groups in LA because it seems like people are spread out. So unless you have a specific little group of spiritual people where you want to invite me in to teach a thing, I would love to do that, but I'm not gathering people physically in Los Angeles at this time. But thank you so much for the question, Claudia. I feel like I've already answered this question. No, I haven't. This question is from Marcella. It's a question I hear a lot in different variations, and the question is it really a good idea to change one's name at 60? The variations are like at 60, at 50, at 25, at 15, at 85. They're like, we all have this thing, I feel like, tied into this question is often like, is it too late? Is it too early? Is it too soon? Is it the right time? I say that if you feel called to a name change, you should probably dive deeper. We rarely have this idea for no reason at all. Also, 60 is the new 30 to me. There's a whole life, 10, 20, 15, 30, like some people live to 100 plus these time. Like, would you really go another 40 years or more without having a name you really love? Because if there is a inclination to change your name, maybe there's a story, there's an identity that needs to shift, there's like an empowerment, there's like someone you're stepping into, or maybe something you're finally letting go of. So it's a really good idea to change your name at any age if it feels right. I think my oldest client was 87 when we had our session, and she was so thrilled and so happy. And not only did she really, really enjoy the process of finding a name and going through name options, but she also was like really truly feeling like she became more herself. And if that is not the point of life, I don't know what is. Like, just becoming you, more you, every single day, every single year. And if that means a name change at 60 or 87, like, be it. I also do find that the older we get, the less hex we have to give to keep it PG-13. And I think that's really helpful, specifically for women, for men too, but like, we should all give fewer hex and we should all do more of what we enjoy. And if there is something where like, oh, what will people think? They're going to think it anyway. And what will people say? But they're going to say it anyway. I saw this great clip where someone was like, if people are talking about you, just remember it's because if they talk about you, people pay attention. Because if they only talked about themselves, no one would listen. So if someone has something to say about your name change, it's probably because it's more interesting than what's going on in their life. Yes, I said that. Thank you so much, Marcella. I think I'm going to end this episode on this question, and I'm going to take the rest of the questions into the next episode. And if you have a question for me, please send it to hello@novaleewilder.com, or if you're on my newsletter list, just hit reply with that question. I would love to answer it. I want to say thank you for listening. If you have a moment, please take the time to review the podcast so that more people can find it and nerd out with us. And if you want to talk about this episode or suggest a topic for future episodes, you can find me on Instagram @NovaleeWilder or at the Numerology Podcast and share your thoughts. Thank you so much for being a listener of the Numerology Podcast. I'll see you in the next one.